Alright, so after that last story, we need a little bit of a joke or a little bit of a funny story. So CNN now is advocating for cuckolding. Makes you wonder about some of these news presenters, doesn't it, and their wives. Cuckolding can be positive for some couples, study says. It's funny because I actually saw this story yesterday. I didn't get a chance to actually go through and read it and get it up there and out. I just ran out of time. I actually asked a few people at work, and admittedly, nobody was interested. Everybody thought that this was a bad idea for a relationship. Even the women I asked, who are the ones that benefit from having multiple partners, still thought it was a bad idea. So, you know. In our current political climate, the term cuck is short for cuck-conservative. No, it's not. It has been an insult for the so-called alt-right aimed at men who view spineless and emasculated. Yeah, that's actually true. But it's not just the alt-right. Even the Republicans call the people that are spineless and emasculated cucks. The slur also has its roots in the concept of cuckolding or having an androgynous partner. But according to recent studies by David Lee, Justin Lee Miller, and the writer Dan Savage, writer? Really? What type of writer are you talking about? Acting on cuckolding fantasies can be largely positive experience for many couples and hardly a sign of weakness. Sorry, I don't believe that. References to cuckolding appear in literature as early as the 13th century, usually in the form of male characters who fear their child has been sired by another man during an act of infidelity. Today, however, cuckold has become fetishized upon the powerful and sexual fantasy for some men who get aroused by the idea of their romantic partner engaging in sexual activity with someone else. Women also share this fantasy, but less so than men. That's actually quite interesting because, yeah, I imagine women would be more jealous. Every girlfriend I've been with has been the jealous type. Maybe I just picked them. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I imagine these women would lose their shit if I ever cheated. So, generally, from my past experience, I found that women tend to be a lot less secure or a lot more insecure in a relationship, which is why I think that they would be against this in the first place. They'd be more against it. And I don't even think that the amount of males that would be into this would be high. I would be very surprised. This fantasy has been around as long as marriage and sexuality, said Lay, whose book Insatiable Wives addressed cuckolding in heterosexual couples. But we're hearing more and more about this these days, and more people rejecting the social stigma against the fantasy. So boys on the left, they're the ones that are rejecting the stigma against the fantasy. Indeed, the numbers suggested that cuckolding, or at least thinking about it, is more common than you might think. For this forthcoming book, Tell Me What You Want, The Science of Sexual Desire, How to Help Improve Your Sex Life, Lamilla saved thousands of Americans and found that 58% of men and about a third of women, or 33%, fantasized about cuckolding. Okay, see this is where CNN becomes fake news. Think about it. That's what they're saying. So they're not distinguishing there between the amount of people that are actually interested in doing this and the amount of people who are actually the cuckies or the cuckers. For example, that 58% of men, I would say a disproportionate large amount of those men would be okay with it if they were the ones cucking someone else's wife. However, when it comes to being the actual cucky, I imagine that percentage would nowhere near be that. I'd imagine it'd be a very, very small percent. But what they do is they lump all that percentage together to make it seem bigger and more acceptable. It's why they're fake news. I imagine that 58% you find over 40-something% would be okay with cucking someone else's wife. And I'd probably find around 5%, my guess, 5 to 10% maybe, would be okay with actually being a cucky, if it's even that high. And as for women, it's the same thing. I imagine that a lot of women would be against being the actual cucky, or the person that had to watch her husband get it on with another woman. But if it was the woman actually getting it on with another man, they would be, yeah, that's fine. So that's where they sort of use facts and numbers to distort the reality. Men are more likely to fantasize about cuckolding, and then they do it more often, but the number of women who have fantasized as well. The points need to be more research focused on women's cuckolding desires, Lamilla said. Initially viewed as a heterosexual phenomenon, it's increasingly prevalent among gay men too. I've long gotten letters from straight couples into cuckolding, usually initiated by the husband, but none of them from gay couples until after marriage equality began to gather steam, explained writer and activist Savage. To learn more, Savage joined with Lamilla and Lee for a study of cuckolding fantasies and experience in 580 gay men. Not exactly a lot of numbers, but yeah, I suppose. Their findings suggest that there are similar differences between the way gay men and straight men view cuckolding, but also queer differences too. Most noticeably, interracial and BDSM themes do not appear to be common in gay men as cuckolding fantasies as they are among heterosexual men. The motives behind these fantasies may also be different. Part of what makes cuckolding arousal for sexual hetero men is they tend to view it as a taboo act. In society, a culture that idealizes monogamy, the cuckold fantasy is current narrative that has been available to people and concept of sexual fantasies, said Lee. But that may not be the influence for everyone. For gay men, cuckolding isn't quite a taboo act because the norm of long life monogamy isn't so strong in the LGBT community. However, it's still arousing for a number of other reasons, said Lamilla. For instance, fantasies about voyeurism and group sex tend to overlap with those cuckolding in these men. It's a sexual desire that can be easily customized to meet a wide range of sexual needs and desires, whether it's taboo sex, novelty, voyeurism, or something else, he told me. The emotions surrounding seeing your partner with someone else can add a turn-on, explained Savage. It's not cuckolding if there isn't an element of humiliation, degradation, or denial, he said. I'll get to that in a sec. Our erotic imaginations have the ability to turn shame lemons into delicious kink lemonade. Yeah, that's the kind of point. The cuckolding is, it's about humiliation, degradation, or denial. It's, you know, it makes you wonder, the people that are into this, the cuckies, right? The people that are the ones watching their wives and the wives watching their husbands. It makes you wonder if they've got some sort of pent-up self-esteem sort of issue. Really does make you wonder that. Like if they have some sort of, self-doubt or something. As sexual therapists, one of the most intriguing finds from this study involves the impact of cuckolding on relationships. I imagine it tends to kill it. Most of them anyway. Overall, our research found that for the most part, cuckolding tends to be a positive fantasy and behaviour, said Lee. Yeah, okay, cite the resource on that. It doesn't appear to have evidence of disturbance of any unhealthy relationships or disregard for one's partner. But then you just mentioned earlier about the humiliation, degradation, or denial. So work that one out. But there's an impact, Claviant added Lamilla. We found that several personality factors that predict more positive experience acting on cuckolding fantasies. Sorry, boys. For those who have a lot of relationship anxiety or abandonment issues, who lack intimacy and communication, who aren't careful, detail-oriented planners, acting on consensual non-monogamy fantasies could very well be a negative experience, he said. In other words, not everyone who has a cuckolding fantasy should think about acting on it. So I would say that the people that should act on it would be, I would say it's predominantly going to be the left. I would say the soy boys, the beta males. And that's where I think a lot of women are into this because of the fact that it's alpha male. It's another guy who's taking you against, the wishes of your beta male. It's that animalistic sort of like alpha male sort of take me now sort of thing. But that's, I could be wrong. I'm not a scientist. Remember that sometimes just sharing a sexy thought can be arousing enough. You don't have to follow through. If you're thinking about acting on cuckolding fantasy, it's worth to step back first and make sure your relationship is a good place and that you have strong sexual communication skills. For men and couples considering the issue of cuckolding, it's important there be honest, integrity, communication, mutually and shared values, advised Lay. I've seen men who try to trick their wives into cuckolding them, and this never ends up well. For couples who decide to move forward, it's important to take things slow. The reality of watching your spouse have sex with someone else, or knowing they're doing it, if not there, is very often the different than fantasy. But didn't you say before that it had a generally positive? You seem to be winding that a little back there. Said Savage. This said, the rewards can be amazing according to couples who have successfully folded cuck play. That said, the rewards can be amazing according to couples who have successfully folded cuckold play into their relationships. Alright. CNN has now literally became the clucking news network. Couldn't write it if you wanted to. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, guys, look, I'm lost. When I first saw this, I couldn't stop laughing, and I really wanted to do the story yesterday, but I fell asleep. And it's just, look, what are my thoughts on this? I think it would kill a relationship. I really do. Every woman I've been with has been very possessive or jealous type. And I tell you now, if I was to do some other woman, especially while that other woman was watching, holy shit, there would have been knives, daggers, slit throats. Yeah. So at the end of the day, yeah. And I'm sure as shit not into watching some other guy do my partner. I'm sorry, but I'll more likely beat you over the head with the frying pan if you try anything like that. So at the end of the day, yeah, look, at the end of the day, if someone was to watch me do their wife, sure, I suppose. But at the end of the day, yeah. And that's where I think a lot of this 58% come. I think this 58% they mentioned for men, a lot of it comes into guys willing to be the cucker, not the cucky. And when it comes to 33% of women, I imagine they're the ones that are getting the D, so to speak. I don't imagine a lot of those 33% would actually be willing participants in watching their husbands get it on with another woman. So at the end of the day, yeah, and that's why I don't think and that's why I think they didn't break it down any further. They just sort of lumped those two groups together and said, hey, look, it's 58% and 1/3, which is 33%. So at the end of the day, yeah, I think they sort of lumped it in because they knew that it was not going to look good. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Are you into cuckolding? If anyone's got the balls to admit it, let me know, I suppose. Or would you rather be the cucker? Maybe I might even do a Twitter poll on this. But yeah, guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If this video has been helpful, please smack a like. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, I'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great day and enjoy.